Hello children, myself Mrs. Gurnani. Today we are going to study chapter number 1, Resources and Development, class 10th, Geography. So children, what is meant by term resources? Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it is technology accessible, economically feasible and culturally acceptable, can be termed as resource. Number 1. Technology accessible. It means the technology needed to use the resource must available so that we can extract it and make proper use of it. Economically feasible means we must have enough money to extract it and use it. And second is economically feasible. Economically feasible means that the benefit of tracing the cost, that is greater accuracy, outweighs the cost of doing so, which is the capital cost of a project, affects the economic evaluation. Cost estimating is essentially an intuitive process that attempts to predict the final outcome of a future capital expenditure. So this is economically feasible, which is final outcome of a future capital expenditure. And the third is culturally acceptable, means it must be accepted by the people. It must not disturb or hurt their sentiments, culture, surrounding, home, etc. So children, let's see independent relationship between nature, technology and institution. The process of transformation of things available in our environment involves an interactive relationship between nature, technology and institutions. Human beings interact with nature through technology and create institutions to accelerate their economic development. So children, in the given figure you can see that human beings are divided physically environment by nature, technology and institutions. So children, do you think that resources are free gifts of nature as it assumed by many? But children, they are not. Resources are a function of human activities. Human beings themselves are essential components of resources. They transform material available in our environment into resources and use them. Resources are not a free gift by nature. Let's assume it. Resources can be classified in the following ways, children. On the basis of origin, that is biotic and abiotic. On the basis of exhaustibility, that is renewable and non-renewable. On the basis of ownership, that is individual, community, national and international. And on the basis of status of development, potential development, stock and reserves. So in the given figure you can see resources, natural and human, and under naturals are renewable and non-renewable, and then renewable continuous or flow, that is example wind or water, and non-renewable is then recyclable, for example metals, and non-recyclable, example fossil fuels. And the renewable is biological, and under biological is the natural vegetation, forest and wildlife. And under human being resources are structures and institutions and quantity. And next is on the basis of exhaustibility, that is renewable resources. The resources which can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical or mechanical processes are known as renewable or replenishable resources. For example, solar and wind energy, water, forest and wildlife, etc. The renewable resources may further be divided into continuous or flow, as you can see in the figure, children. Next comes non-renewable resources. These occurs over a very long geographical time. Minerals and fossil fuels are examples of such resources. These resources take millions of years in their formation. Some of resources like metals are recyclable, and some like fossil fuels cannot be recycled and get exhausted with their use. Next is on the basis of ownership, that is individual resources. These are also owned privately by individuals. Many farmers own land which is allotted to them by government against the payment of revenue. In villages, there are people with land ownership, but there are many who are landless. Urban people own plots, houses, and other property. Plantation, pasture, lands, ponds, water in wells, etc. are some of the examples of resources ownership by individuals. And next is community owned resources. They are resources which are accessible to all the members of the community. And natural resources, technically all the resources belong to the nation. The country. So children, let's study more about the resources. On the basis of the origin, that is biotic resources. These are obtained from biosphere and have life such as human beings, flora and fauna, fisheries, livestock, etc. And abiotic resources are all those things which are composed of non-living things are called abiotic resources. For example, rocks and metals. So children, next comes the international resources. There are international institutions which regulate some resources. The oceanic resources beyond 200 nautical miles of the exclusive economic zone belongs to open ocean and no individual country can utilize these without the concurrence of international institutions. So children, concurrence means a situation in which people agree or have the same opinion. So all the countries have the same opinion of the utilization of the resources of ocean. So children, you can see the figure territorial sea, that is 12 nautical miles from baseline, that comes under land, and exclusive economic zone up to 200 nautical miles from baseline is under continuous zone up to 12 miles and continental shelf. And there is the next high sea, and under high sea is the area deep sea bed. So children, next comes the international resources. There are international institutions which regulate some resources. The oceanic resources beyond 200 nautical miles of the exclusive economic zone belongs to open ocean and no individual country can utilize these without the concurrence of international institutions. So children, concurrence means a situation in which people agree or have the same opinion. So all the countries have the same opinion of the utilization of the resources of ocean. So children, you can see the figure territorial sea, that is 12 nautical miles from baseline, that comes under land, and exclusive economic zone up to 200 nautical miles from baseline is under continuous zone up to 12 miles and continental shelf. And there is the next high sea, and under high sea is the area deep sea bed. So children, next comes on the basis of the status of development, that is potential resources, developed resources and reserves. What is potential resources? Resources which are found in a region but have not been utilized. And developed resources are resources which are survived and their quality and quantity have been determined for utilization. And reserves are the subset of the stock which can be put into use with the help of existing technical know-how, but their use has not been started. So children, next comes land resources. We live on land, we perform our economic activities on land, and we use it in different ways. Thus, land is a natural resource of utmost importance. It supports natural vegetation, wildlife, human life, economic activities, transport and communication systems. However, land is an asset of a finite magnitude. Therefore, it is important to use the available land for various purposes with careful planning. Children, India has land under a variety of relief features, namely mountains, plateaus, plains and islands. About 43% of the land area is plain, as you can see in the figure, which provides facilities for agriculture and industry. And mountains account for 30% of the total surface area of the country and ensure perennial flow of some rivers. So you can see the figure that mountains are of 30% and ensures perennial flow of some rivers. And about 27% of the area of the country is the plateau region. It possesses rich reserves of minerals, fossil fuels and forest. Land use pattern in India. The use of land is determined both by physical factors such as topography, climate, soil types, as well as human factors such as population density, technological capability and culture and traditions, etc. Total geographical area of India is 3.28 million square kilometer. General land use categories 1960 to 61. Forest is 18.11%, barren and unculturable wasteland is 12.01%, area under non-agriculture uses is 4.95%, permanent pasture and grazing land is 4.71%, area under mesic, tree crops and groves is 1.50%, culturable wasteland is 6.23%, fallow other than current fallow is 3.50%. Next is current fallow is 3.73%. And last is net sown area, that is 45.26%. And the next general land use categories year 2008 to 2009 is forest 22.78%, barren and unculturable wasteland is 8.61%, area under non-agriculture uses is 5.57%, permanent pasture and grazing land is 3.38%, area under mesic, tree crops and groves is 1.11%, culturable wasteland is 4.17%, fallow other than current fallow is 3.37%, and current fallow is 4.76%, and the last is net sown area is 46.24%. So children, land resources are used for the following purposes, that is forest. Land not available for cultivation is barren and wasteland. Land put to non-agriculture uses, other uncultivable land is permanent pastures and grazing land, land under miscellaneous tree crops and cultivable wasteland. And the next is fallow lands, that is current fallow, other than current fallow, and the last is net sown area. So children, at present there are about 130 million hectares of degraded land in India. Approximately 28% of it belongs to the category of forest degraded area, 56% of its water eroded area, and the rest is affected by saline and alkaline deposits. Children, some human activities such as deforestation, overgrazing, mining and quarrying to have contributed significantly in land degradation. So children, in the given figure you can observe that water eroded area is 56%, forest degraded area is 28%, saline and alkaline land is 6%, and wind eroded area is 10%. Soil as an resource. Soil is the most important renewable natural resource. It is the medium of plant growth and supports different types of living organisms on earth. Children, as you can see in the figure, there is unweathered parent bedrock at the baseline, and then it is substratum weathered parent rock material, and there is next subsoil weathered rocks, sand and silt clay, and above that is topsoil and humus, and the last is topsoil, the upper soil layer. So children, let's study about classification of soils. India has Varied relief features, landforms, climatic realms, and vegetation types. These have contributed in the development of various types of soil. So children, let's begin with the alluvial soil. This is the most widely spread and important soil. In fact, the entire northern plains are made up of alluvial soil. These have been deposited by the three important Himalayan river systems, the Indus, the Ganga and the Brahmaputra. These soil also extend in Rajasthan and Gujarat through a narrow corridor. Alluvial soil is also found in the eastern coastal plains, particularly in the deltas of the Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna and the Kaveri rivers. Alluvial soils are as a whole are very fertile. Mostly these soil contains adequate proportion of potash, phosphoric acid and lime, which are ideal for the growth of sugarcane, paddy, wheat and other cereal and pulse crops. Due to its high fertility, regions of alluvial soils are intensively cultivated and densely populated. Soils in the drier areas are more alkaline and can be productive after proper treatment in irrigation. Next comes black soil. These soils are black in color and are also known as regur soil. Black soil is ideal for growing cotton and is also known as black cotton soil. It is believed that climatic conditions along with the parent rock material are important factors for the formation of black soil. This type of soil is typically of the Deccan trap, that is known as basalt region, spread over northwest Deccan plateau and is made up of lava flows. They cover the plateaus of Maharashtra, Saurashtra, Malwa, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, and extended in the southeast direction along the Godavari and the Krishna valleys. The black soils are made up of extremely fine, that is clayey material. Children, they are well known for their capacity to hold moisture. Next comes laterite soil. Laterite has been derived from the Latin word later, which means brick. The laterite soil develops under the tropical and subtropical climate with alternative wet and dry season. This soil is the result of intense leaching due to heavy rain. Next is red soil. Red soil develops on crystalline igneous rocks in areas of low rainfall in the eastern and southern parts of the Deccan Plateau. And the next is yellow soils. Yellow soil. Yellow and red soils children has a combination and are also found in parts of Odisha, Chhattisgarh, southern parts of the middle Ganga plain and along the Piedmont zone of the Western Ghats. These soils developed a reddish color due to the diffusion of iron in the crystalline and metamorphic rocks. It looks yellow when it occurs in a hydrated form. So, red and yellow soils have a combination. Next is forest soil. These soils are found in the hilly and mountains areas where sufficient rainforests are available. The soil's texture varies according to the mountain environment where they are found. They are loamy and silty in valley sides and coarse-grained in the upper slopes. In the snow-covered areas of Himalayas, these soils experience denudation and are acidic with the low humus content. The soils found in the lower parts of the valleys, particularly on the river terraces and alluvial fans, are fertile. And the next is arid soil. Arid soil range from red to brown in color. They are generally sandy in texture and saline in nature. In some areas, the salt content is very high and common salt is obtained by evaporating the water. Due to the dry climate, high temperature, evaporation is faster and the soil lacks humus and moisture. The lower horizon of the soil are occupied by conker because of the increasing calcium content downwards. The conker layers formation in the bottom horizon restrict the infiltration of water. After proper irrigation, these soils become cultivable, as has been in the case of Western Rajasthan. So children, let's study about soil erosion. The denudation of the soil cover and subsequent washing down is described as soil erosion. The process of soil formation and erosion go on simultaneously, and generally erosion go on. There is a balance between the two. Sometimes this balance is disturbed due to human activities like deforestation, overgrazing, construction and mining, etc. While natural forces like wind, glacier and water leads to soil erosion. The running water cuts through the clay soils and makes deep channels as gullies. The land becomes unfit for cultivation and is known as bad land. In the Chambal basin, such lands are called ravines. Sometimes water flows as a sheet cover large areas down a slope. In such cases, the topsoil is washed away. This is known as sheet erosion. Wind blows loose soil off flat or sloping land, known as wind erosion. Soil erosion is also caused due to defective methods of farming. Plugging in a wrong way, that is up and down the slope, form channels for the quick flow of water, leading to soil erosion. Children, plugging along the contour lines can decelerate the flow of water down the slopes. This is called contour flagging. Steps can be cut out on the slopes, making terraces. Terrace cultivation restricts erosion. Western and central Himalayas have well-developed terrace farming. Large fields can be divided into strips. Strips of grass are left to grow between the crops. This breaks up the force of the wind. This method is known as strip cropping. Planting lines of trees to create shelter also works in similar way. Children, rows of such trees are called shelter belts. These shelter belts have contributed significantly to the stabilization of sand dunes and in stabilizing the desert in western India. So children, let's study about soil erosion. The denudation of the soil cover and subsequent washing down is described as soil erosion. The process of soil formation and erosion go on simultaneously, and generally erosion go on. There is a balance between the two. Sometimes this balance is disturbed due to human activities like deforestation, overgrazing, construction and mining, etc. While natural forces like wind, glacier and water leads to soil erosion. The running water cuts through the clay soils and makes deep channels as gullies. The land becomes unfit for cultivation and is known as bad land. In the Chambal basin, such lands are called ravines. Sometimes water flows as a sheet cover large areas down a slope. In such cases, the topsoil is washed away. This is known as sheet erosion. Wind blows loose soil off flat or sloping land, known as wind erosion. Soil erosion is also caused due to defective methods of farming. Plugging in a wrong way, that is up and down the slope, form channels for the quick flow of water, leading to soil erosion. Children, plugging along the contour lines can decelerate the flow of water down the slopes. This is called contour flagging. Steps can be cut out on the slopes, making terraces. Terrace cultivation restricts erosion. Western and central Himalayas have well-developed terrace farming. Large fields can be divided into strips. Strips of grass are left to grow between the crops. This breaks up the force of the wind. This method is known as strip cropping. Planting lines of trees to create shelter also works in similar way. Children, rows of such trees are called shelter belts. These shelter belts have contributed significantly to the stabilization of sand dunes and in stabilizing the desert in western India. So children, in the given image you can see the major soil types of India in the map and India's states and union territories. So children, you can compare the major soil types with the areas and the union territories and states of India. So two maps of the India are given. One is major soil types and other is states and union territories map. So forests and mountains are found in the northern part of India, that is Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir and Uttarakhand. The next is alluvial soil you can find in Uttar Pradesh, Haryana and Punjab. And next is red and yellow soil you can find in the eastern part of India, that is Chhattisgarh, Telangana, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Mizoram and Nagaland. And the red and yellow soil has a stretch towards south also, and the states are Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and some part of Maharashtra also. And the state where you can find black soil is Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and some part of Gujarat. Laterite soil you can find in the states are some parts of Goa and Rajasthan. The last is arate soil you can find in Rajasthan. Children, next is development of resources. Resources are vital for human survival as well as for maintaining the quality of life, children. It was believed that resources are free gift of nature. As a result, human beings use them indiscriminately, and this idea has led down the following major problems. Depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of a few individuals. Next is accumulation of resources in few hands, which in turn divided the society into two segments, that is haves and have-nots, or rich and poor. Next is indiscriminate exploitation of resources has led to global ecological crises such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution and land degradation. So children, an equitable distribution of resources has become essential for a sustained quality of life and global peace. If the present trend of resource depletion by a few individuals and countries continues, the future of our planet is in danger. Therefore, resources planning is essential for sustainable existence of all forms of life. Sustainable existence is a component of sustainable development. So children, sustainable development is economical development means development should take place without damaging the environment, and development in the present should not be compromised with the needs of the future generations. Next is resource planning. Resource planning is a technique or skill of proper utilization of resources. Stages of resource planning: identification and listing of resources, surveying, mapping and the measurements of the qualities and the quantities of the resources are the important activities undertaken at this stage, children. Planning for exploitation: develop a planning structure with suitable technology, skill and institutional setup. And the last is match resources development plans with national development plans. Children, India has made concerned efforts for achieving the goals of resource planning right from the first 5 years plan launch after independence. The availability of resources is a necessary condition for the development of any region, but mere availability of resource in the absence of corresponding changes in technology and institutions may hinder development. There are many regions in our country that are rich in resources, but these are included in economical backward regions. On the contrary, there are some regions which have a poor resources base, but they are economically developed.